Hey everybody, John here. Welcome back to Catbird Hill. So we got a little break in the snow. Today is Wednesday, February 10th. They're actually predicting snow starting tonight into tomorrow, maybe 3 to 5 inches or so. But I thought I'd take advantage of the balmy 32-degree weather today and try to finish up a project, or at least continue on a project that I started maybe 4 or 5 days ago. One of the issues that I've struggled with in what we call our equipment room or little barn is the storage of all of our fuel containers, mostly our gasoline containers. We have a lot of power equipment that requires gas, and usually what I try to do is first of all, I always buy ethanol-free gas. So I carry around maybe 2 or 3 5-gallon fuel cans that if I happen to pass a station that sells ethanol-free gas at the pump, I'll just stock up, bring it back, and usually what ends up happening is those 3 or 4 or 5 cans get stored off to the side in our equipment room, and they're in the way. They're big, they're bulky. I'm constantly moving them out of the way, and my wife struggles because she has to reach over them to get things on shelves where her garden gloves and tools are. So I decided, first of all, I just want to get all those fuel cans out of that space. And honestly, it's probably a safer thing anyway. I just don't like the idea of keeping, fuel inside of a building if I can avoid it. And there's really no reason I need to do that, especially since I've got plenty of space to store it outside. But I don't just want to put it outside and let the sun, degrade the containers and get all rusty. The ones that are metal get rusty. I've actually had situations in the past where I've used some plastic storage containers for fuel, and I don't know if it's squirrels or some other kind of an animal actually chews the plastic. And what I've heard is that there's some component in certain plastics that to that type of an animal it tastes sweet and they chew it. I don't know, maybe they just like the flavor, but I've gone through 2 or 3 fuel cans like that, so I want to make sure that I create some kind of a protective enclosure for these containers. So what I did is I came up with a design just kind of out of my head, which can be a dangerous thing. I sketched a few things out on paper, and this is what I came up with. It's just a very simple frame, pressure-treated lumber. And I didn't, went with the cheapest grade I could find because it's going to sit outside. It's going to eventually, get moldy or, mildewy, whatever, sitting outside. So I don't want anything real fancy. But I wanted to have a structure that I can enclose, and then I'm going to have doors. This is actually the front. It's going to be a 2-leveled little storage shed, very small storage shed. It's only about, maybe just under 4 feet wide and maybe about 2 feet deep. And it's probably about 4 feet tall. And I'm going to be putting it in under a kind of a shaded area out of the way. It's not going to be very visible. You can see it has I put a 10-degree slant on the rooftop there just to shed water. And it's got 2 levels. The bottom level is going to contain, I believe, 3 5-gallon containers, and the top level will have space for probably 3 or 4 1 to 2-gallon containers. And the smaller containers is where I keep my 2-cycle mix. So the bottom is just going to be plain gasoline. The top will be my 2-cycle mix. And then I'll have extra room in there to store funnels and other tools I use to fuel up our equipment. So I've done a lot of pre-cutting. I didn't want to make a video of showing every single detail of construction. I know you guys don't need to see hours and hours of me nailing boards, but basically I used a Craig jig to do the joinery here to make the connections between the framing pieces. The framing is basically 2x4 lumber. The base is actually 4x4s that are just butted together. Very simple, didn't take a whole lot of time. And so I just want to, show you a little bit of the construction. We'll put on some of the remaining roof boards today, and also probably I'll flip it around and we'll work on the back. I've got a lot of the boards for the back of it pre-cut. You can see what I've done here is I've made a little space in between the boards, and that's how the sideboards will be laid out as well. I'm just using some roofing nails as spacers. This pressure treated lumber, as it's very unstable. It's gonna expand and contract with the weather. It's gonna be outside, so I want to have a little room for the boards to move. Also, especially around the sides of the structure here, I want to have ventilation. Fuel's going to be stored in there, so I want to make sure that any fumes can get out. What I'm going to do on these top joints, just so to minimize the amount of moisture getting in if it snows or rains, I've cut battens, like board and batten style construction, and I'm going to put battens over top of the little spaces between the boards. I think it'll look kind of cool to help keep it a little drier inside. Doesn't have to be perfectly dry, but I think it'll just be a nice little design feature, so it doesn't look totally ugly. On the front, I'll be putting two doors. They'll hinge from the sides and connect in the middle. And so we'll do a little bit of nailing and construction, and then maybe another couple videos we'll finish it up. I do want to talk about a new tool that I just picked up, and this is not unusual. I'm sure that others watching this have had this experience. I just started putting this together, I think 3 or 4 days ago, and my air nailer that I've had for years, which I will show you, this was actually the very first pneumatic tool I ever bought. It's a Porter Cable finish nailer, 2.5-inch finish nailer. I bought this probably at least 20, maybe 25 years ago. It was the best thing that I could afford at that point in time. I think, if I remember right, I paid at least $250 for this back then. These were just getting really popular. This was considered a fairly high-end model at the time. I've loved this nailer. It's done a phenomenal job. It literally owes me nothing. And I think I drove maybe 20 or 30 nails the other day when I was beginning to put this together, and it just totally decompensated. The rubber protector on the bottom of the trigger switch here fell off. All of a sudden, it began to leak air from somewhere in the valve in the trigger mechanism, and it just stopped nailing. So if you think I should get this fixed, I haven't even contacted Porter Cable. I was going to send them an email and give them the model information and find out if it's worth fixing or not. But I really like this. It's nice and light. It just fits in my hand really well. But it's obviously not useful for me right now. Of course, that happens in the middle of a project. So what I did is the other day I got online and did some research on best finish nailers, and I came up with a lot of really good reviews of the Metabo HPT, which Metabo used to be Hitachi, and I actually have some Hitachi tools, power tools that I really have liked. This got really great reviews. It's basically the same size nailer. It will handle up to a 2.5-inch finish nail. I think the smallest nail it takes is 1.25 inches, 15 gauge. What I liked about this is the angle of the nail track here, allowing you to get into really tight spaces like corners if you're doing molding. That was one of the downfalls of that Porter Cable nailer. Because it was a straight line finish nailer, you really got a little buggered up in corners. So this was really appealing. And just to show you how things have changed, I don't know if it's just the way things are produced now. I hope this is good quality. I think it seems like it is. This was only a little over $100 at Lowe's. It was $119. It was on sale. So it feels really good. I played around with it a little bit and driven some nails, and I just like the feel of it. So we'll give it a good run. Unfortunately, it takes a different type of nail than the Porter Cable did, so I had to go out and get some. I got some new nails for it, but that's fine. So we'll do a little bit of nailing here, and we'll put on a few boards on the top just to give it a good test. And this is one of those things where you have to kind of stop yourself sometimes, because it's very easy to make this like building a piece of fine furniture when it's not. So I'm not really particular about lining everything up. These boards are going to cup and twist and warp because it's sitting outside, so we're not going to get too crazy about it. And gosh, even some of these boards, since I cut them a couple days ago, I don't know if you can see that or not. Already, just having cut them from a longer board, they're already twisting. That's fine. I knew that was going to happen, and that's just the way it is. I guess based on everything some people are saying and what I'm reading and some of the other channels I follow on YouTube, I'm lucky to have gotten lumber. Some people in some parts of the country are still really struggling to get any kind of lumber. Man, I really like the feel of that nailer. It's just got a nice feel to it. It really nice action on the trigger. One of the things that it has that my old Porter cable nailer did not have is it has a repetitive firing function. You can flip a switch and just keep hitting the nailer. You don't have to keep pulling the trigger. I mean, obviously for this kind of an application I really don't need that, but that's a pretty cool function to have. I actually had some leftover pressure treated lumber. This one here, I don't know, for some project, and I just thought this is the perfect time to use up old lumber, odd pieces here and there. It's, like I said, not a super fine piece of furniture, so you might as well use up your old stuff. I don't know about you, but I have a terrible habit, I guess, of saving everything. I look at a piece of wood, scrap of wood, and think, oh, I could use that. And, it sits in a box or a bin or an old trash barrel that I use to, collect that stuff. And 5 years later, I still have it. Just because. To save those pieces. I gotta rip up one extra piece here just because I'm going to have a little bit of an odd size there, so I'll save that for later. What I want to do now is I'm going to turn this around and we'll hit some of the back of it. When I was designing this thing, as if I sat down with drafting paper, but as I was designing this in my head, I like to build things sturdy, especially outdoor stuff. And I had some 4x4s left over from another project, and I said that'll be a perfect base for this. and you keep slapping boards on, all of a sudden the thing weighs about 600 pounds, but certainly the wind's not going to blow it over. I'm trying to be super careful with the new nailer. I don't want to set it on the concrete or anything. You know, when you get a new tool, you tend to want to be almost baby with it. You know, you want to just take really good care of it. You just spent some money on it, so you don't want to let it lay down on a rough surface. At least that's the way I always start out. You know what, I want to start on this side here. So you guys kind of get the idea of, you know, how this is going to turn out without me, again, boring you with shooting thousands of nails. So, you know, this is going to be the rear of it. I think, you know, this is something that as I was building this and starting to put it together, I thought, probably should have done this years ago. I have no idea why. This is one of those things where I keep complaining about tripping over the fuel cans and having to move them around. And literally, you know, when all is said and done, in probably 4 or 5 hours, this whole thing will be built from start to finish if I added up my time. Didn't cost a lot. I had some of the material anyway. So we'll do probably another video when I'm, you know, 90% done. We'll probably maybe do a video of me building the doors and attaching the doors, and then it'll be ready to go. So I just thought I wanted to do something a little bit different. Normally, since I started the channel, a lot of the focus has been on firewood and chainsaws and some of the other power equipment that we use here in the property. But I wanted to, you know, begin to throw in some other projects, just like, you know, other people, you know, who have properties or yards or homes. You know, every now and then you just have to stop and do another project because it's what needs to be done. So we'll keep coming up with more ideas for videos. I really have enjoyed some of the comments so far. Hey, and give me your opinion if you have any experience on repairing or having somebody else repair air tools. You know, is this worth repairing? I have no idea. I mean, I like this a lot. I wouldn't mind having a backup finish nailer. You know, maybe this could be sort of my my kick around nail, or who knows. But let me know in the comments if you guys think that this is worth repairing, maybe sending it out, or maybe if I can find some place locally that could fix it up. Anyhow, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. We've gotten, probably half a dozen more subscribers just since the last video. Obviously I'm just starting out here, so please, if you like the videos, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if it's your first time, and please share these videos with your friends or family. That really makes a big difference in trying to grow the channel here. Till next time, this is John on Catbird Hill, and we'll be back and see you at the next video.